to kind of go through 10 things that you can do to make sure you're getting the most out of the community or mentors that you're involved with. All right. Yes, I consider myself a mentor. It's something that I love doing. I love sharing my stories. I love sharing my mistakes. Um, Honestly, the wins don't really hold as much value to me personally. And I think if you talk to a lot of successful people, they really talk about the mistakes. They're really what mold you and guide you into becoming more successful. And also, for me personally, I'm at a stage in my life where I get a lot more enjoyment because I've learned how to take joy out of what I'm doing. Um, there can be a lot of stress. There can be times where you don't know why you're doing this, but as I'm in this business longer and longer and longer, those events matter less and less and less because I know I'm going to get through it. Sometimes it's just going to take some resilience. It's going to take some effort. So let's talk about one of the first things that I kind of want to go through. So the first thing is experience and expertise. Now, the reason that you guys are here is because you want to rely on our experience and expertise. Either you're in a business you've never done before, maybe it's something that you've just started at and you don't feel like you're ready to, take it to the next level. Or maybe it's a business that you've actually been in for a very long time, but you want to expand your knowledge. You want to level up. This is a really mature way to look at it is, I know trades that have been doing the work for a very long time. Some of them stick to their guns, don't change, don't try to level up or, become better at what they're doing. And slowly they begin to fall off. Whereas others are consistently trying to learn, trying to, um, trying to expand their knowledge. And they're the ones that are more successful. So the reason that you guys have mentors or people like us is obviously to get the valuable experience we have and industry knowledge. Industry knowledge is such a common term, but it's never really given enough weight. Being in an industry for a long time, you can really learn about what I say to those pitfalls. Okay. Mistakes are what slow you down. And if you have somebody that has knowledge that can explain to you where the pitfalls are, it does accelerate your learning curve. It really helps you get on top of the industry or the thing you're trying to learn. This is why we send our children to school to have teachers, because teachers can accelerate their learning in whatever topic that they're covering. If you were to just, I'm sure some of us have smaller cousins, maybe have kids, brothers, sisters. Imagine if they had to learn everything on their own. Where would they be? Right? It would be crazy. So you got to view it the same way as, when people get older, they kind of feel like they don't need to be taught anymore. Or you hear the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I totally disagree with that. 100% you can teach dogs old dogs new tricks because I learn them all the time. Um, and if you want to keep progressing, you have to find a way to find that knowledge and get that mentorship. So, just a question just came in is one concern is the cost of trades and materials have increased quite a bit the past few months. In that case, how do we find less expensive trades? Okay, so let me use my expertise and my experience to help address the situation of what do you do when the cost of materials and trades keeps rising? How do you adjust for it? Well, the first thing is anybody that's gone through the flipping course understands that we talk about something called the performa. So when you're doing your performa, you're going to put in what your costs are going to be. Okay. Now costs vary. They go up, they go down. What you need to do though is before you get into an investment, you need to allow for what is essentially the current trajectory of pricing. Okay. So right now, I would say the cost of materials are actually on a downward trajectory at this particular moment. Less people are doing stuff, so there's less basically demand, higher supply, which means the cost of materials are coming down. But for when it comes to the trade side or the labor side, unfortunately, people aren't, money doesn't go as far as it did. So they're charging more for their time because they need it to live. So if I was doing a performer right now, I would basically allow for a higher percentage on my trades. If the last time I did it, let's just say the trade cost 100, I probably would cost that trade out at 120. Now let's say the material cost 100. I probably would cost it out at about 90 right now because I think I can pick up stuff cheaper. Okay. The other side of it is you need to look at how much time are you going to put into this particular part of that performance. If it's somewhere where you do have more experience and expertise, you will know how to find better deals, cheaper trades. You'll probably have a bigger network to draw from, which we're going to touch on later, in order to access that lower pricing. You're also going to learn how to negotiate the pricing based on your job, right? When people price stuff, it's not always just about, how much is it going to cost me to do the work. It's when's the work going to happen and how convenient do you make the work for me. So if I was in a situation right now where my expenses were higher, I would use my expertise to find a way to make the job easier for the trade, more accessible, have them get in and out faster so that they can actually charge me less. And is there anything I can do to essentially set them up to succeed so they know they're going to be in and out, get paid as quick as possible? Maybe they can reduce the rate. With pricing on materials, a little bit more comparison shopping, going back to somebody you continually buy materials from. I would go to them and say, hey, look, is there any deals to be had right now? I know things are slowing down. Do you have any leftover materials? Do you have any stuff you're clearing out? That's the way I would address that, Green. Let's go on to the next thing. Networking opportunities. So this is the whole reason that Priya School was created. This wasn't just for you guys to have networking opportunities, it's for us as well. You know, being part of a community gives you access to more people. And each one of those people has access to another group of people, okay? Contacts, clients, partners, investors, etc. The fact that we're in this community and we're speaking and we can talk gives us a lot of advantages that we get to know each other and we may be willing to help each other out. Okay. And most people in the community do. If you need options on trades, I've seen many people inside the Priya School community asking, hey, can somebody help me with a trade? And people jump on and help. Maybe some people that are looking for investors. I know lots of people that have joined up and done joint ventures together. Okay. This is really a very, I don't want to use the word underrated. I don't know what the right word would be, but it's kind of the secret sauce of how you get ahead is you need to have a good network, right? Um, there's a very common saying out there that your network is your net worth. Okay, so the more people you know, the more opportunities you have. Um, between me, Rick, Pedro, and other people that we know, our basically how many people we can reach out to is way larger than if I try to keep everything to myself. And that's kind of the goal. So if you want to get ahead, it's a hard thing to do, especially if you're not someone that's outgoing. And the community is a real great way to do it because you don't have to be face to face with people. I'm not huge on face to face. I don't mind texting and helping people and stuff like that. But everybody kind of has their own schedules, and it's hard to get out there in front of people. But when you're part of the community, you can ask a question, you can answer people, you can reach out at any time, 24/7. That's the great thing about technology and what we're doing these days. Let's go on to the next thing. Accountability. So I procrastinate. Okay. I will have stuff come up and I will wait to do it. I think there's another saying that I like that if it wasn't for the last minute, a lot of stuff wouldn't get done. That's for me. I work best under pressure, but I've also surrounded myself with people that help hold me accountable. Okay. I have people that set deadlines for me. That helps me to get things done. So being part of the community isn't just about holding yourself accountable. And this is kind of what today's call was, is I'm trying to get all of you guys to be a little bit more accountable because I see that there's a little bit less activity. People aren't asking as many questions. And that usually means that I think it obviously has to do with the summer. It has to do with people being distracted, kids out of school. It's very common for people to get distracted during these times of year. But if you have a group of people around that can hold you accountable, being, hey, what's happening with this? What's happening with this? Are you doing anything here? It just kind of gets your mindset back to where it needs to be so that you're looking forward. Um, and I'm a big believer that, like I need help holding myself accountable. I also hold other people accountable. Some people that are much better and don't procrastinate and probably need less accountability than I do, but I try to return the favor. Helping each other by holding each other accountable. This is not a negative thing. You're not calling people out on a negative, being like, you don't want to bring people down. The goal is to help motivate them and bring them up. Okay. To help them find out, sometimes it's like a small little thing that they're considered as stuck. In our project management world, we have a meeting weekly. And what it is we talk to all the major stakeholders in the project, all the way from the people on site to the investors, and we asked, does anybody currently have a stuck? Okay, is the stuck something to do with the bank? Is the stuck with a trade? Is the stuck with getting materials? Is the stuck for having something to be paid for? Is the stuck a delivery? Um, what is your stuck? And as a group, we try to help that person basically solve that stuck. Okay, that's what accountability is. Accountability comes in as, hey, where are you stuck right now? How can we help you? And have you done what was needed? Because the other part of it is during those meetings is, what do we need done by the next meeting? Okay. What do we need accomplished by the next meeting? And the accountability comes in, this meeting's coming up, you better get your work done. The meeting itself acts as an accountability check, but the people in there will also be like, hey, Jag, I needed this, this, and this. Is it done? I'll be like, yes, yes. This particular thing is not done because I got stuck. And this is why I can't get it done. And then we can jump in and help each other, or they can jump in and help me. Right. That's really where accountability is huge. And if you don't have that kind of support network, use the community, find a partner, hold each other, right? Put a question out there, Jag, I'm stuck on this, or so and so. Other people will jump in. All right. It's a great way to have somebody help hold you accountable. Emotional support. That's a big thing. You can get down. Um, I know there's been situations where I've been on projects where you just feel like, I just talked about those stucks. You feel like every single thing you do results in a stuck, which means no matter which way you try to approach the project, it just feels like you're getting further and further and further behind, and you can't find a way to solve it. Being able to have a group where you can reach out and get some kind of support to say, hey man, it'll get better. I know Corinne and them, I know you guys, when you started your project, you guys were talking about that it was really tough. But then you broke through and you felt a lot better. Almost every single person that's done a flip, their first one, they've felt that need for emotional support to kind of get them through. I recently just did a walkthrough with Suckman and Jesse. They're on their third flip, and they're flying high. They've kind of already rolled through the roller coaster of doing flips and being construction. And they're ready for the next hardship, which is they're going to try to go into single family. Okay, but they know that they have us for support. They know they've got a group that's willing there to help them, that can help them ask them questions, answer the questions, sorry, they can hold them accountable and things like that. So when you start to realize you actually have some kind of a support network, it makes things easier when you're going into these projects. Do not try to do this stuff alone. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of sort of a sidetrack story here. Um, so I went to dinner with a friend, and his wife was there. And his wife loves what we do on Instagram. She loves watching the reels and the posts. She finds it very informative, and she wants to be in construction. And I've talked to her about getting into flipping, and she's really interested. Um, but she's severely intimidated. And we know each other personally. She knows my wife. We've gone to dinner, we've gone on trips and things like this. And she actually is intimidated to even sign up for Priya school because she feels like all she's going to ask is stupid questions. And I really had to spend some time and explain to her, I'm like, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Everybody starts somewhere. I can't remember the question that she asked me while we were there. It was something very simple. Oh, it was about flooring. She asked actually, why do we suggest putting the flooring in a certain direction. And she goes, and her husband actually jumped in and goes, that's a dumb question. Like, why would you even ask that? And I'm like, that's not a dumb question in any way. There's a very specific reason why we look at the way the flooring should be laid inside of a condo, and it has to do with how can we open the space up? How can we make the space more appealing to the eye? The last thing we want to do is when we walk into the space is have the flooring negatively impact the space. So I think that's actually a fabulous question. And the fact that she was already down into those details tells me that she's on the right track. She's working the right way. Because as you get more experience with this, that's the kind of stuff you're going to think about. When I walk through a flip, in general, most people do a great job. But I start looking at the really small things, and that's what I really want to teach you guys is how to start to look at the nitty gritty to just sort of level up everything you're doing. And, so knowing that you have somebody that's willing to kind of give you that support and know that it's coming from a positive place really gives you the confidence to make that next step. Like I mentioned, Sukhman and Jesse, they have the confidence now to take that next step. So let's go on to the next thing. Skill development. There's no way to get better at what you're doing than to do it. Okay. You can spend years studying something, but until you actually do it, you're really not going to improve. Practice makes perfect, right? Um, I'll kind of give you a great example is I have a few friends that when I was working for a company, they came out of the project management program out of UBC. Okay. I had gone through basically I'd learned a lot of my skills through BCIT, but most of my knowledge came through real world of experience of being on sites, okay, being on my father's job sites, my uncle's, building my own places. I had real world experience of how to manage these projects. I supplemented that with knowledge from other communities and other schooling and things like that, but I didn't go to the level of getting a degree or a certification in project management. I never felt that I needed it. We all started work at the same time. Within a year, I was the manager of those two guys. Okay. They worked under me because they didn't have the practical skills to implement the project management techniques that we knew. It was great what they learned on paper, but they didn't know how to put it into the real world. So, using these communities and having people identify, hey, maybe you want to kind of go take, I see a lot of the work that you're doing. Maybe you want to go take a course on project management. Maybe you want to go take a course on how to do a higher level performa. If you're jumping from doing flipping condos into flipping houses or from flipping houses into doing townhomes, the level of each skill you need has to elevate as well. Okay. As the price of the development goes up, the price of your skills also has to go up and you have to invest in that. And I don't think there's been a single time in my life where I haven't found the return on investment on me learning a skill the proper way. While doing it practically, I use sort of my basic skills and then I use the knowledge to level it up to the next. And then I have to use it practically, right? Because that's for me, that's also the way I learn. So being in this community, this is a great chance. Even this conversation we're doing today is a skill development for you guys. For everybody watching this, you are upping your skills because you're learning how to use a community, how to use mentorship to level yourself up. Okay. Um, you know, One big thing of skill development, which actually I didn't even put in there, maybe it's peer learning opportunities, is asking questions. I'm going to go back to this over and over. Ask as many questions as you can. Don't be scared. As far as I know, for long as school is going to be around, I'll never shy away from people asking questions. I will always try to offer an answer or try to give them a direction in which way I would go to try to get that answer. I love helping people that way. Feedback and advice. So, have you ever? Okay, I'm sure some of you guys have had younger nieces, nephews, and ever. And when they do something, the first thing they always kids are great at this, by the way. The first thing they always do is like, did I do a good job? Is this good? Do you like it? Right? They're always looking for feedback. Kids are always looking for feedback on what they're learning. Adults, for some reason, get scared of it because they might think they get negative feedback. But negative feedback is just as good as positive feedback. Somebody telling you you're doing a great job, great, positive reinforcement. Somebody telling you saying, hey, you know what? That's not the way I would do it. This is here's how I would improve, or this is what you need to do, or oh, you know what? You're doing it wrong. Okay. We're all, big people here, big kids. We can take somebody telling us we're doing something wrong. And I find that people that are around that are willing to tell me what I'm doing wrong are people I tend to trust more. Because if you're doing something wrong, please tell me. Because I don't want to waste my time continually doing it wrong until I figure out that it's wrong on my own. If you know I'm doing it wrong, help me out. Give me some feedback. Give me some advice so that I can get better faster. Right? That's why we have communities and mentorship is we want to get better faster. So um, if you don't ask questions, you're not going to get feedback. You're not going to get advice. Okay. So I know I've said this a lot, but it's probably the most important thing that if anything you guys can learn from today or period, if you can anything ever learn from me, period, is learn to ask questions, learn to be okay with negative feedback. Okay. Resource share. So I see this a lot inside preschool already. It's probably the thing that people ask for the most. The question often getting asked most is, does anybody know a trade? Does anybody know a supplier? Does anybody know anybody that can do this, this, and this? So you guys are all really great at that. Just recently, I know Karina and them, they had a bathroom, one of their flips redone, and people are asking who did it? How much did it cost? That's resource sharing. And that's great. The one thing that I always kind of put as an asterisk with resource sharing is do not trust someone's recommendation blindly. Okay. Um, so I'm going to spend a couple seconds here. Let me go into this a little bit deeper. When you ask somebody for a referral, and some of you I know have heard this before, but it's something I like to say, especially for somebody that hasn't heard it before. When you ask someone for a referral, make sure you do your own due diligence on the referral. And I'm going to keep it short with this one, but because when you get a referral, the way that person, let's say I referred someone, the way that person works with me very well will be different the way that that person works with you. Okay? I want you guys to listen to that. The way someone works with me will be different than that same person working with you. So you need to separate yourself from what my experiences were to what your experiences will be. Okay? Whether it's a supplier, whether it's a trade. This is a really important skill to learn. The other part of it is you do not want the person that's been recommended going back to the person that did the recommendation and complaining because that's not fair. Okay. You don't want them going back and saying, oh, that person you gave me, they were horrible to deal with. Well, were they horrible to deal with because they just were a bad person? Could be. Or were they horrible to deal with because the way that I interact with that trade is different than the way you interact with that trade, and they're not used to that type of interaction. Okay, this is a big thing that I want people to learn about when they get referrals. No problem asking somebody, hey, do you know someone that you can recommend? But it's your job to make sure that you address that referral properly. You set the boundaries, you set the rules, you have candid conversations about the way you work, what your expectations are, and you need to also ask them and listen. You need to listen to them of what their rules are and their expectations are so that you can have a happy relationship. I still have trades that I don't necessarily work well with because we have different standards. Um, but I have very good friends that are builders that use them all the time and they're very happy with them. That's great. Not all personalities match. Okay. It's just the same as, have you ever had a friend of a friend come out to dinner with you or come out to a party with you or come out somewhere with you? So this is one of your great friends. And then I go, I have this other friend. This is one of my other best friends. You have to meet them. They're awesome. You're going to love them. And you meet them and you're like, not really a fan, right? Same thing happens with trades and suppliers. Okay. Let's go back. Problem solving. It's impossible to know the answer to every problem. Remember I talked about earlier about stucks? This is exactly what I'm referring to. Is you are going to have stucks in your career. There's going to be things that are going to come up that you do not know how to solve. So what do? you rely on the community you're within. Okay. So discussing and asking questions and discussing what challenges and where you're on a project. Um, one of my favorite things to do is to basically help people get out of a jam. Um, throughout my career, pretty much every role I've been in, I've essentially been turned into, and in project management, we call this person the firefighter. Okay. I've been turned into the firefighter in almost every single place that I've ever worked. The reason is I'm very good at solving problems. Um, and that's a skill that I have built up over a long time. Number one, I don't shy away from problems. If there's an issue, I like to jump right in. I'm very good at thinking outside the box, coming up with alternate solutions. But I would probably say high 70%, 90% of the problem solving just comes down to communication between the two parties that are having the problem. If it's a specific building problem, that also can be something that's involved between an inspector, a framer, whoever. A lot of it comes down to just communicating what the problem is, what's the possible solution, and having people work together. But even then, you're not going to have all the answers. Part of my problem solving skills is I have different networks of people that I go to for different problems. Okay, so if it's a real estate issue, maybe I would talk to Rick, right? He's done a lot of stuff in real estate. If it's something to do with building, I'm going to talk to one of my mentors, that I've worked with. I'm going to go to him. I just had this recently where I wanted to put some concrete in a garage over top of asphalt. That's not ideal. Okay, but I spoke to him. I said, hey, look, this is the use case. This is what we want to do. This is the reasoning as to why we're thinking about doing this. And he has probably 30, 40 years of concrete experience. He did all the concrete for the Alex Fraser Bridge. And he goes, yeah, no big deal. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, just add some 10 mil rebar. You'll be good. He helped me solve a problem. So, and the rebar was a good thing that he mentioned to me. I was probably going to do it, but I was actually going to do overkill. So once again, guys, ask questions, problem solving inside the community. If you need help, don't spin your wheels. Post it. Try to get some help. The worst thing that's going to happen, the worst thing, okay? The worst thing to asking a question is you don't get an answer. You're no further behind, okay? If you have a problem and you don't know what to do, and you ask a bunch of people the question and nobody can answer it for you, you are no further behind than you were. But if somebody gives you a hint, a trick, or completely answers it for you, you're way ahead. So ask yourself, why are you not asking more questions? Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So this is more to do with obviously the real estate side. I hopefully you guys realize that everything I've kind of go through doesn't just apply to real estate or flipping or construction. This applies to everything. You know, um, you know, do you want to know how to take care of your grass better? Find somebody that's an expert in grass, mentor. If that's what you're into, barbecue, cooking, sewing, biking, traveling. You want better travel tips? Find a mentor that can do that. Okay, all this stuff applies all the way through. Um, so one thing is that's hard when it comes to this particular thing is you need insight from people that actually understand the industry. Okay, you don't want cousin Bob telling you what's happening with the market because he saw a TikTok about what's happening in Florida real estate and you're sitting up in Toronto. Okay. You probably don't want Uncle Bob giving you information off of TikTok for Florida real estate, even if you're investing in Florida real estate. So being in a community of people that understand the market that you're working in, and you're going to quickly learn who those people are that have better insight. I asked you guys, I have some investors asking right now, is this a good time to invest or not? And I was a little bit shaky on what I want to kind of advise them on. I posted the question, in school, got some answers, kind of gave me sort of a little bit of forethought on it. And then I was able to go back to them. Okay. So the great thing there is I kind of really did get a feel that people that are investors right now, this was just, with a few responses, is the feel I got is people that are investors right now are actually actively looking. there's a lot of active from the professionals, okay? From people that are, for lack of a better term, not experts in the industry or not professionals, maybe kind of do real estate on the side. They're sitting on the sidelines. And that tells me that we're essentially on kind of the top tipping point of things perhaps starting to go again. It may not happen in a month, may happen in 6 months, but if you look back historically through the market, this kind of is very similar to past markets of where we are. And just by me asking that question, it kind of made me think about that, go back to my research, and allowed me to, you know, be able to help the people that I work with out. So, once again, guys, ask questions. It doesn't matter what the question's about. Okay, whether it's construction, finance, real estate, market insight, ask those questions. Get that help. Everybody's there to help you. Um, Now, I talked to a lot of you guys at our live events. Um, Not enough last time because we didn't have enough time, sadly. But most people I talk to is they kind of, you know, I would actually say most people don't think about personal growth. They're like, I want to help my family. I want to get better. I want to support my family. I want to, move up. I'm sick of being in the grind, jag, da, da, da. But what they're really talking about, if you kind of read between lines, is personal growth. They want, as a person, to become better at what they do so they can earn more, so they can advance, right? And the reason they want to earn more and advance is so that they can help their family. But it really comes down to personal growth. Being around people that can help you grow. I think you guys, if you guys remember the very beginning, I was talking about that I'm to a point in my life now where even when I'm in a stressful situation, it doesn't bother me nearly to the amount it did when I was younger because I know I'll get through it. Um, when I'm on construction sites, sometimes the emotions can get really high. And, when there's a problem, and I've learned how to address those situations with people. There's a saying I use almost every time is I say, hey guys, look, we're just building something here. We're not saving lives. We're not in the ER. We don't have somebody in critical condition that's about to die. All we're trying to do is figure out, where to put this beam or how we can adjust this door or this light switch is in a stupid spot or we forgot to pre-wire for something. Let's just, calm our heads and come at this from a different angle. And, that came from me, you know, getting that personal development. And that personal development came from me being around mentors that were in the industry that helped me when at job sites. I would see what they would do when they were on the job site. I have one of my bosses would always go onto sites and the clients would be like, "Oh, how could you not know that this was here? How could you?" Like they would be getting upset. And my boss would just be like, he'd be like, "I don't have X-ray vision. I can't see through walls. Like, how did you expect me to know it was there?" And it was just a great way to diffuse the situation, and that's what I realized is just trying to get people off the cliff. That's why I always talk about, I use that, we're not saving lives analogy, is finding that personal growth just to basically level up all your skills, be able to address situations, not get so frustrated when things get stressful. Being a leader, okay, knowing how to run a job site, knowing how to, when you're in a room, take command of it, whether it's investors, whether it's contractors, suppliers, wherever you are. And this will work in all parts of your life. But being around people that can help you grow your skills, your confidence, having the confidence to be the loud voice in the room, you know, that's a great thing about being in a community is they will help foster that development. Right. So obviously a little sort of shameless plug here, guys. This is why school is so important. Um, we didn't get too many questions today, but I'm hoping there'll be more questions, inside the forum. Um, Hopefully you guys kind of found this helpful. Hopefully it centered you guys a little bit, kind of calmed you down, reassess where you're at, get ready to kind of take on the next challenge. I know sometimes it's hard. You can get scared out of going on to your next challenge because you're traumatized from your past one, but set yourself up for that support. Okay. PRIA school is a great thing. maybe you have some family, maybe you have a business partner you're working with. Set your guys sort of up for success by having the support in place. Okay. Having people that can help you problem solve, having people for emotional support, having people that can help you, expand your knowledge. Okay. Having resources to know if something comes up, if I get in a stuck, where do I go? How do I solve it? All right. So yeah, thanks to everybody coming out. Hopefully you enjoyed the new thing on YouTube. Because you're Korean there, of course. Um, so yeah, we're gonna kind of try to do a little bit more of the webinars in this style. Um, I don't. I'm trying to get away a little bit from just shoving a bunch of information down your guys' throats. I want to kind of break it down a little simpler and make it easier for you guys to absorb, because sometimes things get too complex. And I feel like this is more effective, and it's the feedback I'm getting. So please, guys, make a post, give me some feedback, help me out. If you guys want to see something else, or there's something you want me to talk about, or if there's something that you're stuck, if maybe you want me to do a webinar on it, let me know. All right. I'm here to help. All right.